Hi friends, my name is Baji. Welcome to our channel. In today's video, we will continue to discuss the programming concepts of Groovy. First, we will start with the file IO operations topics where we will try to understand the process of reading the contents from a file and also writing back the contents to the file. And then we will discuss the topic of regular expressions. Here we'll try to understand what exactly the regular expressions are and what are all different purposes. And finally, we'll end this video with the topic of closures. If you are watching this performance testing must-have skill series for the first time, please watch the previous episodes of this series and then continue this video. You can find the series playlist link in the description. So without any further delay, let's get started. Let's quickly open the Visual Studio Code and create a file with .groovy extension. To save our time, I have already created a file called groovy-part11.groovy. If you want to follow along, you can create the same file or you can use any existing file. Just make sure that the file ends with .groovy extension. So our today's first topic is file IO operations. Here we'll try to understand how to read the content from a file and also how to write back the content to the file. In Java, we have a package called java.io where we have different classes available to manage the file read and write operations. Let's quickly open the package to see those classes information. So open your Chrome browser and search for java.io package and open the Oracle documentation page. So here they are providing all the information of the java.io package. So this package has different interfaces and different classes. Using all these classes, we can manage the file read and write operations. So we will be using the file class for this demo purpose to understand the process of reading the content from a file as well as the writing the content back to the file. So you can go through this page to understand different fields, constructors and methods available for this particular class. We are not going to use all these methods. We will be choosing few methods from this list and then understand the process of managing these IO operations. Don't worry, I will be sharing this package link in the description so that you can also go through this package information. So it is always good practice to go through the details of those classes and methods before start using them. Okay. Since this java.io package is defaultly imported to Groovy, we don't need to write again import java.io, right? If you remember when we talked about this import, like if you want to import any package, you need to use this import keyword, right? Here java.io is a default imported package, so we don't need to write this statement. So you can remove the statement and start writing the other code. So if you want to use any particular class, first we need to create an object. This is what we discussed in our object-oriented programming video. So let's create an object to that file class. So how do we do that? First we will need to use the def keyword like the way we are creating for a variable and then the object name. Let's name it as file and then new. New is the keyword that we need to use if you want to create an object to any specific particular class, and then the class name. Here the class name that we are going to use is file, and within parentheses we need to specify the file information. If the file exists in the same directory where this program exists, then you don't need to specify the absolute path. You can simply specify the file name. In case the file exists in a different directory or path, then you need to specify the absolute path. For our demo purpose, I have already created a file in the same directory called samplefile.txt. So this has 3 lines of content. So we will be using this file to read the content of this file. Okay. Specify the file name within the double quotation. So samplefile.txt. So this is the first step. After that, using that object, you can access all the entities available inside the file class. First, we'll try to display the absolute path so that you will understand where exactly this file resided. Okay. So to display the absolute path, first we need to use the object name because this object is pointing to that file class which refers to that samplefile.txt, right? So file dot and then the absolute path. So you can use this absolute path to retrieve the absolute path of that file. Since we want to display this information onto the screen, we can use the println. Okay. So let's quickly run the program. So you can see sample file exists under users, Baji Patan, desktop, Groovy, tutorials, and then the sample file name. So this is the absolute path. Okay. Next we will try to find out the file size. So since we want to see the output onto screen, we can use the println, and if you want to display the file size, then you need to use the file object dot length. Length is the method that is available in the file class. Okay. So let's quickly run the program. So it is telling the file size is 86. So this 86 is in bytes. By default, Groovy will calculate the file size in bytes. Okay. So next we will try to understand how to read the contents from that file. So there are different ways to read the content from a file. First we will see how to read the entire file as a string. So we can read that file as a string using text. So we need to write file.text. Since we want to see this onto the screen, then we can use the println. Okay. So let's run the program. So this will will show the entire contents of that file. So in that file we have 3 lines. So let's go to that file. See, we have 3 lines of content, and that entire content Groovy read that as a string and displayed it onto the screen. Okay. In case if you want to read the content into a list of strings, then you need to use the read lines method. So file dot read lines. So this is the method that you need to use in case you want to read the content into a list of strings. Again, we'll try to use the println to display the output onto the screen. So let's run the program. So here, if you see the output, so we have a list of strings. So for each line, Groovy treated as a string, and then it's stored into a list. So we have 3 lines. So that is why we have list item 1, 2, and 3. If you want to read line by line, then you can use each line. So let's look at that now. So we can use the file object, then each line, opening curly braces and closing curly braces, and within that you should specify line, the variable name, and then println line. So what it does is it will read the each line and then it will try to display it onto the screen. So let's quickly run the program. So first it read, and second it read the second line, and then the third line. So these are all the different ways to read the content from that file. So based on our requirement, we can make use of any one of these methods. Sometimes we want to make sure before reading the content from that file, we want to verify whether that file actually exists or not. So we have a method called exists. Using that, we can verify whether that file exists or not. If it exists, then we can try to read the content, or we can display some information back to the user. So let's try to understand that approach now. We can use the conditional operator if to verify if that file exists. So file.exist. Exist is a method which will check the file existence, and then it will return back to the status either as true or false. If it is true, then what we need to do? If file exists, then we can read the content of that file. Otherwise, we can display some message saying that the file does not exist. Let's quickly update the file name something else so that we can test the negative condition. So let's say sample file 3.txt. Okay. So let's run the program. So it is telling that file does not exist. So this is a better way to handle the file IO operations. For example, let's say if you are not using this if condition and try to read the file, let's see what is the output. Groovy is throwing some exception saying that no such property, file or class. So it is telling that it did not find any file with that name. To avoid these kind of exceptions, we can rewrite the same thing in a better way using the exist. Okay. Let's update the file back to sample file and then try to rerun the program. In this case, the file really exists. So what Groovy will do is it will try to read the content and display the output onto the screen. So these are some of the read operations that are exist in Groovy. There are many more. I'm just specifying few to understand the process. Okay. You can go through the java.io package and try different classes and methods to achieve the desired output. Next, we will try to understand the process of writing data to the file. Okay. Again, here also we need to create object to that file class. So let's say def file equal to new file. Here you need to specify the file name. If the file exists, it will try to write the content into that file. In case if the file does not exist, then it will create that file and write that content inside that file. Okay. So let's name it the file name as my new file.txt. Since we did not specify any absolute path here, it will try to create this file within the same directory. So if you want to write the content to the file, we can use the write method. So let's say like file.write, and then type the content that you want to write to that file. So let's say this is a sample text. Let's run the program and then see if Groovy creates the file with my new file name and then write this content. So if you observe on the left hand side, earlier we don't have anything called my new file.txt. So after executing this program, Groovy created this file and wrote the content like this is a sample text. Okay. You can also use the left shift operator to write the content instead of .write method. Let's say this is a new line. Go back to the file and then see it already appended to that file. We have created this sample text in the previous run, and then now we have added this is a new line. So if you want to create this into a new line, then you can use \n. This is an escape sequence to start the content into a new line. So let's rerun the same program again and verify the file. See, now we have that same content into a new line. Okay. So we have another method called with writer. Using that also we can write the content to the file. Let's see how we can use with writer function to write the content to the file. So first we need to use the object file.with writer, and then first we need to specify the variable name. So write write line, and within parentheses you can specify the content. This is another line. You can also write multiple lines at the same time. Let's run the program. Go to the file and then see, this is another line, this is another line. So this is another way to write the content to the file. If you carefully notice, with the writer, it removed the content whatever we have added in the previous run, right? So if you want to keep the previous content and if you want to append the new content to the file, then you can use the append method. For example, let's say file.append, and you can specify the content that you want to add. So this is a new line added to the file. We can also use our text to print the content, right? Instead of going back to that file and then verifying it. So let's say file.text. So it will add all these lines and then it will print the content of that file in the program. So you see we have 3 lines of text we wrote to that file and then we also displayed it. So these are all the different write operations. Again, these are not the only operations. You can go through the java.io package and then find out different other operations that you can use to write the content to the file. Okay, so we'll move on to our next topic, which is regular expressions. Basically, a regular expression is a pattern that defines a set or subset of strings. We can use regular expressions in a variety of ways for different purposes. For instance, we can use regular expressions to validate the data to make sure that the user typing the expected data. We can also use to extract data from some data set, and even we can replace a certain block of text with another block. So Groovy is using java.util.regex package to manage these regular expression operations. So again, we can open a browser and then type java.util.regex package. So go to the Oracle documentation. So inside this package, we have an interface and couple of classes and one exception summary. So the pattern class is a compiled representation of a regular expression. So if you open that pattern package, here you can understand different ways you can create that regular expression pattern. So for example, here, if you write a regular expression like this, opening and closing square brackets within that ABC, that means you are telling Groovy to look for A, B or C in the given string. Okay. Again, if you add a caret symbol before ABC, then you are trying to say to Groovy that ignore ABC and look for any other text. You can also give some range like A to Z small as well as A to Z capital. So that means Groovy will go through any character between A to Z in small case as well as the uppercase. So we have another predefined character classes also, like if you specify dot, that means you are telling to look for any character. Okay, you can go through these different examples to understand how we can create different patterns. Okay, now we will look at some commonly used patterns. The first one is dot. Dot means it matches any character except a new line. So if you are specifying dot, then Groovy will look for any specific character in the given string. If you specify asterisk, it matches the preceding character 0 or more times. Let's say if you are saying H star, so it will look for any word which starts with H. Okay. Similarly, you can also use plus to match the preceding character 1 or more times. And then you can also use question mark to match the preceding character. But here it will only look for one character, not more than one character. Whereas asterisk and plus will look for more similar characters. And if you want to match a digit, then you can use \D. So it will match any specific digit in the given string. If you want to match any white space character, then you can use the \S. And if you match any word character like digit, letter or underscore, you can use the \W. So the regular expressions in Groovy can be denoted with a 2 forward slashes. So here the ... means a pattern. For instance, the regular expression /world matches the string world wherever it occurs. Okay. So we also have a equal to PS symbol. So this thing in Groovy called as a pattern operator. If you want to check any given pattern in a particular string, then you can use this pattern operator. So let's quickly write a small program to understand this concept. First, we will define a text in a variable, so called text. So our text is hello, and then we will create a pattern. So def pattern equal to 2 forward slashes, and here you can write anything. I'm trying to match the hello string using the regular expression patterns. So I can write like this. So H, that means my word should start with H, and then in the class I can specify A to Z. So I want any string that starts with H. After that, it should be any character, and then plus. So that means I'm expecting a word that starts with H. After that, it can be anything like hello, hi, anything. Okay, now I'm defining another variable is match, and then I'm telling text pattern operator pattern. So I'm telling to Groovy to match the hello with this pattern. So it will look for that pattern in that string. If it matches, it will return the matcher object. Okay, you can also use matches method to understand the output. So the matches method will evaluate this pattern, and if it matches, then it will return true or it will return false. So let's try to print ln is match dot matches. Okay, let's run the program. So it returns true because the hello matches with this pattern. Let's say a different thing, like I want to start my word with B. If I run the program, we should be getting the false because the given pattern does not match with this text, right? So you can create this kind of patterns, and then you can verify if that pattern exists in a given string or text. Okay, in Groovy we also have a couple of methods to find and replace any particular string in the given text. So let's try to understand find first. So let's say def text equal to, we can write a string and then create a pattern, say brown. We want to find if brown exists on this text. So say define found equal to, found is another variable that I'm using it. So text dot find, and then within the parentheses we need to specify the pattern. So what Groovy does is it will check this text with this pattern. If it matches, then it will extract that text and then store it into the found variable. Since I am writing brown, to make it simple, it will extract that brown word and put it into the found variable. Okay, so let's try to print the brown. Let's run the program. So we are expecting the brown, right? To make it simple, I have written the brown word, but you can also write some pattern, same like A to Z plus. Let's run the program again. We are getting the brown, the same thing. In case if you want to replace a particular piece of text with something else, then you can use the replace all method. Let's again create a variable called text with the same piece of text, and then define a pattern, same brown, replace. This is another variable that we want to store the output. So text dot replace all, and within parentheses you need to specify two arguments. First one is the pattern and the new text. Let's say I want to replace brown with red, and then let's print the output. Okay, let's run the program. So the original text was the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. After we use the replace all method, what we told to Groovy is, look for the brown pattern in the given text and replace that brown with red. So it did replace it. So the output is the quick red fox jumps over the lazy dog. So this is the replace all method. You can verify if the pattern exists in the given text, or you can extract particular pattern from the text, or you can even replace that particular pattern in the text. Okay, so if you want to master the regular expression patterns, you can go to the regxr.com website, where you can test your patterns before even you can implement that in the program, right? So here they have given a chunk of text, and then in the expression you can write the patterns. So here they're telling A to Z with upper caps and then a word plus. So it is looking for words in the given text. You can write anything. Let's say if you want to find out the text that starts with E, so you can write E. So it is highlighting all the words that starts with E, and also it is giving you the explanation what exactly it is doing. So and then you can specify the class. So since we did not specify how many characters we want to extract, it took one character. So wherever capital E, it also highlight the next character. So here you can see the character set. Match any character set in the set. This is definitely a good source that to master the regular expressions. You can also find the cheat sheets to see different patterns. Okay, so go through this website and try to experiment with different patterns, see how the results are coming, and also understand the details. I will share you this link in the description as well. Okay, so our final topic for this video is closures. Basically, closures are anonymous blocks of code performing some function. A closure can contain a single or multiple statements. It can be passed around as a variables, and it can take arguments and execute some logic and return a result as well. So the default syntax of the closure is, we need to write the opening curly braces and then the closure parameters, space, hyphen greater than symbol, and then the statements. Here the closure parameters are an optional comma delimited parameter. So you don't need to specify closure parameters for every closure. It depends on the requirement. Okay, let's quickly define a closure. So the definition is very similar to the variable declaration. So def my closure equal to, let's say you want to print hello Groovy. So to call the closure, there are multiple ways. You can directly call with the closure name, like my closure opening and closing parentheses. Okay, let's run the program. What it do is it will just call this closure, and it will try to execute all the statements given within this closure. Okay, so you can also use my closure dot call. Call is a method, so it will also do the same thing. It will call the closure and then try to execute all the statements defined inside the that closure. So we can also write the closure in multiple lines. It's not like we need to write closure always in a single statement, right? We can also have multiple statements like this. So let's run this multi-line closure. So it will try to print all the statements inside that closure. So by default, Groovy closures have an implicit parameter called IT. So if you want to pass a single parameter, you can make use of this implicit parameter instead of defining that inside that closure. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. My closure, again I'm defining another closure. Here instead of hard coding hello Groovy, I can use that implicit parameter so that the user can pass some parameter to that closure. So let's say my closure, within parentheses we can say Groovy. So when Groovy execute this program, it will replace this Groovy with this implicit parameter. Okay, let's run the program. See, hello Groovy. Even you can replace this with Java, whatever you want, then Groovy will consider that and it will print that string. So this is the implicit parameter. In case if you want to explicitly use the parameter, then you can also use the closure parameter option. So let's say my closure equal to name. This is the parameter that we want to use, and then we can use that parameter inside our statements like this. So it is exactly the same as, so instead of IT, we are defining a parameter called name, and then we are using that inside our statements. My closure, let's say Python. So we are passing Python as an argument to this closure. So it will replace this Python into name, and then it will substitute that name here. So it will print that hello Python. Let's run the program. See, we are getting the hello Python. So both programs are same. Here in line 99, I have used the implicit parameter. Here I am using the explicit parameter. So that is the only difference. So closures can also work with the variables that are outside of the scope. For example, let's say define a variable called number with 20 value, and then define a closure called sum, which will take one argument, and then whatever the value that user is passing, we are adding that to this number 20. Okay, so let's say println sum 5. Can you guess what is the output? So we are passing 5. So this 5 will be stored inside this 8, and then we are telling Groovy to add that 5 to the number variable. So in number we have 20, so the output should be 25. So this is one of the advantages of the closure. So here this number is not within this closure scope, right? This is outside of the closure scope. For example, let's define a method called sum and take one value as an argument, and then try to add that value to the number. Okay, so and then after that return the output back to the calling function. Here what we did is we created a method called sum and then passed one parameter called value. So whatever the user passes the value, it will substitute that here, and then it will try to add that with the number variable. This number is not within the method scope. It is outside of the method scope. If I try to run the same program, Groovy will give the exception because methods can only access the variables within the scope of that method. It cannot access the variables that are outside of this method scope. So that is the beauty of closure. If you want to access any variables that are outside of the closure, you can easily access. Another usage of closures are iterating through collections and also performing some operations on the elements. So we have collections like lists, maps, right? So we can use these closures to iterate the elements inside of the list. Let's say we have a list called numbers with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can use closure with the combination of dot each method, and then we can perform some operations. Let's say I want to multiply each item in that list with 2. Okay, let's try to run this program. What it will do is it will try to multiply each element with 2. So 1 into 2, 2, and then 4, 6, 8, 10. We can also pass closure as an argument to another closure. Let's say we have a closure called transform, which will transform the given string, and it will take a string and then the transformation. Here the transformation is a closure. Okay, and the transformation string. So this is our closure. So here we are passing two variables, one as a string and then another one is a closure. So let's try to print. We are using the transform, and first we are trying to pass the hello Groovy as a string and then the closure. So the closure, actually what we are doing here is we are trying to convert the string into uppercase. Okay, so let's run the program. See here we have passed hello Groovy with mixed case. Since in the closure we specify that we want to convert that to uppercase, and we are passing that as a variable to the closure transform. So So it converted that particular string into uppercase and then printed out to the screen. Okay, so these are just few ways, and there are many things can be achieved using these closures. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for staying till the end. I hope that was informative and you understood all the concepts explained in this video. Remember, knowledge is a treasure that grows when shared. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more informative videos. Feel free to leave your thoughts, questions in the comment section below. Your feedback will help me to deliver the quality and more insightful content in our channel. All the notes have been uploaded in GitHub and you can find the link in the description. If any of your friends are interested in learning performance testing, please share this series link to them so that they will learn all these concepts for free and get benefited. With this, we have completed all the planned concepts in the programming module. So I will see you with our next module. Until then, take care, stay safe and keep learning.